All right, Alice fans and surrounding areas. Tonight we got a special episode here on the Gridiron 64 podcast. So we were going to have Coach, Athletic Director, Head Football Coach Joe Castellano come on, but something came up. Coach could not come on, but the offensive coordinator for the Alice Coyotes is here with me, and on the screen, there he is, the offensive coordinator, Cameron Cox. Coach Cox, how you doing this evening?
Good, man. I appreciate you having us on and getting some Alice Coyote football news out there, man.
Absolutely. And I got to tell you, Coach, I think you guys, this is just my opinion, right? Are the non-district looks pretty tough, pretty competitive, but I think Alice is poised to make another deep playoff run. And we're going to talk about the district. Alice is now moving to a new district, so we'll get Coach's thoughts on that district and those teams that they'll be playing. And we'll also talk about the non-district, and we'll talk about some players. And I've asked Coach Cox. Hopefully, we can get Alice on every Monday. We'll see if they've got time. Maybe we can get Coach Cox and Coach Castellano and some other assistants. We'll see how that rock and rolls. But definitely tonight we're going to be talking Alice Coyote football coach. And if you're ready, we'll start with question number one. And I'll just ask you, just how long have you been coaching football as a whole, and how many years do you have there in Alice?
Yeah, so I've been coaching for this is my 15th season. In my 15th season, and I cut my teeth kind of as a quarterback, running back coach for about 5 or 6 years. I went to Refugio. My first 3 years in Refugio were as a running back, quarterback, receivers coach, and then I became the offensive coordinator there in 2016. So the last 7 years in Refugio, I was the offensive coordinator, and then came to Alice, and that's something that I'm really proud of. Is this will be my 12th year on the Coastal Bend, right? So 10 years in Refugio. This will be my second year in Alice. And me and my family have just kind of made it home, this area, and I feel like I've been blessed to work at two of the more tradition rich programs on the Coastal Bend in Refugio and Alice. So 15 years total, 12 years on the Coastal Bend, and two seasons at Alice. This will be the second season.
Wow. And Coach, for those that don't know Coach Cox, right? He's been to the state title games a couple of times. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, but I think you have two state championships underneath you there with Refugio that you guys have
Yeah,
won.
we won two in Refugio, 2016 and 2019. We played in six of them when I was there.
Wow.
So, but won two of them. Yes, sir.
Wow, that's a lot of success. And now you come in as the offensive coordinator there in Alice with Coach Castellano. And last year the Coyotes had a deep playoff run. I think they went undefeated in district. I hope I'm saying that correctly if I remember.
That's
And
correct.
they went
That's
to the third round. So we'll get into that here in a bit with Coach Cox. But Coach, I like to, when we do these podcasts, I like to kind of have you introduce the other assistant coaches. Who's on staff with you and what are their responsibilities.
Yeah. So on the defensive side of the ball, which I don't really work with them closely at practice or on the field, but a great group of guys to be in the office with, and they work really hard. Up front, defensive line, we have two coaches, Coach Abel Lopez and Coach Victor Garcia. And they both coach defensive line, D tackles, D ends. The linebackers coach is Coach Adon Canales, and he's really good. And all three of those guys are Alice Coyote alums. They all played for Alice and everything. In the back end on the secondary, we got Hector Gaza, who's the defensive coordinator. He coaches safeties, and then Gonzi Trevino coaches the corners, and both of those guys are Alice alums also. So, and then of course Coach Castellano it's his defense, and he runs the show over there, and he's a Refugio boy, But that's the defensive side of the ball. On the offense side of the ball, our side of the ball, I got a really, really, really good staff. I couldn't ask for better dudes. They grind, they hammer details, they hammer fundamentals, and that's what is really big to me, right? So our offensive line coach is Raul Villarreal, Tinker Villarreal. Been in South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, or the Coastal Bend his whole career, 28, 29 years. He coaches our offensive line. And then our offense uses an H-back, which is like an off the ball tight end fullback. And that position is coached by Coach Rodriguez, Joseph Rodriguez, and he's an ex-Marine. Been coaching for 3 or 4 years now, but does a really good job with those guys. Our running backs coach is Pete Trevino, who's an Alice alum. Really smart dude. Uh, will probably be a head coach someday if he wants to be. And then our receivers coaches, which we play with 3 receivers on the field. Our receivers coach is Devin Orta, who's a young dude. Went to high school in Sinton and Alice. Uh, Graduated from Texas A&M Kingsville, and he coaches all 3 of our receiver positions. And that's another dude that will probably be a head coach or a big time offensive coordinator in the near future. So really, really good staff here. I feel like we do a really good job of keeping things simple for the kids and hammering discipline and fundamentals and getting everything taught in that three days of game prep that you get and getting our kids to play on the field Friday nights.
Yeah, coach, it's nice to hear that there's some alum there on the staff because I mean, when you graduate and you can come back and coach, it's
Oh
that much
yeah.
more special, right? You want to win wherever you go, but when your heart's in it because you're a Coyote, that's the tradition. You played there, you know what Alice stands for. So every day you're coming with it, and then of course seems like you got some young guys, good guys, but mixed in there with some veterans, and then of course the leadership there is great. A lot of experience there with the defensive coordinator, Coach Castellano. So it seems like Alice is in good hands here. So the community of Alice would be real excited to have this coaching staff there. And Coach, going into the next question, you guys last year, a lot of success, a lot of good things happening. And you guys go to the third round. How many players do you have from that team coming back as on the offense? How many returners you got back on the offense and defense for this year's team?
Yeah, so I think we returned like I want to say like like 21 Letterman, but as far as starters, I think we have 2 offensive starters back and like 5 defensive starters. So there's definitely some new faces, and there's some inexperience. But what I like is the talent. Like I always tell people, like we're young and we're not super experienced, but we're pretty talented. So our job is to take those guys and grow them up as fast as we can, right? So that's something that we've tried to do, throughout the spring and the fall, the spring, the summer, and the fall is just kind of get those guys caught up and everything. But yeah, there's a lot of new faces, but we're real optimistic too.
Man, that's great, Coach. And one of the guys that is coming back on our offense is your quarterback, Lucian Cruz, was a sophomore last year, going to be a junior this year. As a sophomore, Coach, I got his stats. I'd like to read them out to you. I know you know, but this guy is something else. Last year, as a sophomore, he played 12 games played, had 134 completions on 209 attempts. He had 705 yards rushing, 2,140 total yards passing, 24 TDs, 7 interceptions, 122.5 QBR. I mean, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I got those stats, Coach. So you've got a stud out there who can do it on the pass game and the run game. How good is he, Coach? Tell us how good is this young man out there in Alice?
Lou is good as if pretty much anybody I've ever coached. I've been blessed throughout my career to coach some really good quarterbacks, dating back to Travis Quintanilla at Refugio, then Jalen Mascoro, then you had Jared Kelly for a little bit, Jacoby Avery, Austin Ochoa, and then the starter at Refugio right now, Keelan Brown. I coached him for 4 years, junior high, and his freshman sophomore year. So I've been able to coach some really good ones. This kid Lucian is as good as they come. I mean, he's a student of the game. He's a perfectionist, right? Like when we're doing footwork stuff, like he wants to make sure that he gets everything right, And he eats, sleeps, and breathes football, and so he's really, really good. On top of, like you said, he can run. He had 12 rushing touchdowns, and he totaled 37 touchdowns. He actually had a receiving touchdown as well.
Wow.
So you're talking about a guy that accounted for nearly 3,000 yards and 37 touchdowns, and that's special, and people don't realize um, how big he was to the offense. I mean, they see the stats and stuff, but like anybody who was at our Calallen game or our Lampasas game in the playoffs, like um, the offensive line and him really kind of took over those games. You know what I mean? And our I mean, everybody played really well, but it was just like a feeling like, dang, those five guys up front and Cruz are gonna take this thing over. You know, and that's how much confidence we have in him as an offensive staff and me as an offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. I think as Lucian goes and as our offensive line goes, that's how the Alice Coyotes are going to go. You know, so want to keep him healthy, keep him clean, but yeah, he's the real deal, man. I wouldn't trade him for anybody out there.
Coach, and I mean, he and Alice fans and surrounding areas, he did this as a sophomore. He's a
Right.
junior, so this was all. He was a 10th grader, so he was still very young, still learning the game, and he was
Oh
able to accomplish all of this. If you look at his stats, and then of course you're hearing Coach talk about and telling us just how special this young man is. So, Coach, I'm definitely looking forward. I'm a real busy guy on Fridays, but I'm gonna make it out to one of these Alice games. I've got to watch him because you're right, when you see the stats, it jumps out to you, especially his grade level. But there's more to it than just stats. It's about taking over a game. It's about controlling a game. It's if you're in a close game, it's how he manages the game, and that's what you got to be able to see. And you can only see that with your own eyes, watching his performance and how he handles himself in those situations. So definitely, Alice fans should be very happy with this young man and his performance last year. You got him this year. You got him next year. So we want to get his name out there, get him recognized. I mean, in this side, we don't know a lot about him. Rockport, Ingleside, Aransas Pass, Portland. We don't really hear a lot about him over here. So if I can do my part in bringing his name out here and getting him out there, man, we'll definitely do that because he definitely is a stud. So definitely looking forward to catching a few games this year. Coach, you had two scrimmages. And before we get into the non-district, talk to us a little bit about those scrimmages. How did the team perform? Did you see what you wanted to out of the offense in those two scrimmages?
Yeah, I think I did. So we scrimmaged Bishop the first scrimmage, and those guys came over here and they got after it, man. They really their kids played hard, man. They were physical and they played hard, and but I felt like the one thing that I wanted to see going into these scrimmages was how are these young inexperienced guys going to handle maybe a little bit of adversity or a little bit of fight back from another team. You know, you go against yourself all spring and all summer and fall camp, and then you get into a scrimmage and you got somebody hitting you back a little bit, right? It's not your buddy you're going in a drill with or whatever. So that's what I wanted to see. And especially up front with our offensive linemen, because we graduated 4 of our 5 starting offensive linemen, and now we're starting 5 brand new offensive linemen. Every starting offensive lineman for us right now is a new guy. So that's what I wanted to see is how those guys are going to respond. And in that Bishop scrimmage, I mean, we played a team that got after it and we did well. I think we ended up outscoring them 4-0. We moved the ball really well. It didn't hit any big plays, but we did hit some big plays. But really, what we did was we maintained drives and didn't turn the football over, which is what I really like to see. Big plays are great, and we need those. But I want to see us move the ball, get first downs, that kind of stuff at this time of the year. So the Bishop scrimmage was really good. Then we went to Corpus Christi Buck. We went to Buck Stadium, scrimmage Corpus Christi King, and did well. I think we outscored them 6-0. I think we threw for 5 touchdowns and ran for 1. And I thought that we did a really good job. But there was a time in the scrimmage where we got we kind of looked like our 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th play. There was a little period where we kind of got sloppy, and then we responded, right. And that's what that was a little bit of that. We saw some of that adversity, right. Broke down in protection. We dropped the ball, a pass, and then how we respond? We ended up going down and scoring, right. So we got to see that how we responded to a little bit of adversity, and then once we got that fire lit under us, we came out and we moved the ball real well, especially through the air. But I think we've gotten better every single week, especially our offensive line from our inter squad scrimmage, which was the first Saturday of fall camp. So we practiced for 5 days. Then we had an inter squad scrimmage, and then the next Friday was Bishop, and the next Thursday was King, and I just saw us getting better every single week, right? Especially up front with the offensive line, which is the hardest because it's five guys working in unison, right? It's five guys that have to work in sync. So they usually take the longest to come around, but Coach Villarreal and those guys have done a great job. And so we've done really well. I feel like offensively, we're not perfect. We're not satisfied. There's stuff we got to get better at, but I like where we're at right now heading into week one.
Sounds good, Coach. Overall, it looks like the Alice Coyotes had a good scrimmage. And once again, Coyote fans, surrounding areas, you can catch this podcast on all of the Gridiron 64 social media platforms. That's our Gridiron 64 Facebook and Twitter page, our Gridiron 64 YouTube channel. And now we're also on Spotify. So you can catch this podcast on Spotify. Just search Premier Sports Talk, look for the GT Sports logo, and you can catch this podcast. We're talking Alice Coyote football with offensive coordinator Cameron Cox. Coach, and now I want to go into your non-district schedule. You guys schedule some pretty tough opponents. When I was kind of looking at it, you got let's see here, you got Calallen, Sinton, GP, and TM. They all come with something. What was the thought process when you set this, or Coach Castellano, y'all set this a schedule up? What was the reason for that, and what did you want to see from your team? What do you think these teams? Because they're obviously going to make you better.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that me and Coach Castellano actually talked about was we wanted to get some premier matchups on the coastal bend, right? So we wanted to play some of those teams that are historically and traditionally good programs, and we wanted to get those matchups. And then the other thing was we wanted to schedule a pretty tough non-district schedule so that we could go through that adversity and those growing pains with our young guys, right? Our unproven guys. And so we think that here's the deal. We want to win those games and all that stuff, and we're gonna try like heck to win those games, but we're really trying to get prepared with that tough schedule for those four district games. You know what I'm saying? So we want to win them all, but the bottom line is we want to see those really good teams and get us ready for those district opponents and playoff opponents and stuff like that. But yeah, like you said, I mean, we get Carroll this week, who's improving every single year. They look really good on film. They got two huge defensive ends, like 6'3", 6'4". Got a stud running back. I mean, they're not going to be a pushover by any means. And then we go right into Calallen, who we played for a district championship last year, brand new staff. Then we go right into Sinton, who's like picked to win the region, and they're in 4A. And then get La Jolla, and then GP, who's state ranked in 5A D2, and then TM, who has maybe the best running back in this area. With Jordan King at Refugio and Damian Figueroa at TM, and then the kid at Miller. And then we got a pretty daggum good one too, and Roel Gonzalez. But it's going to be good for us to see those guys and see those that caliber of player heading into district.
Yeah, I do. When I saw that, I thought this is going to be, and it's good must see football too for the fans, right? Because there's good competition, and that's what you want to see. I mean, every team you love to see your team win 45-7, 45-0, but for fans and even fans that may not be from those, because we talk a lot, right? They want to go. They hear a good matchup. We'll take that drive because we want to see. The Coastal Bend fans want to see good football, and Alice, you really put it out there in the non-district. Must see football with these, and like you said, Carroll also is up and coming, and they could be in the playoffs. A lot of people have them in the playoffs this year in their district, going for the first time. That coach is doing a great job out there with the Carroll Tigers. So definitely looking forward to these non-district games and seeing how Alice fares. But it's going to be must see football here in Alice. Coach, now let's talk about the district. So you guys are moving to a whole new district from last year. There'll be some traveling, obviously, down to the valley. If I remember correctly, most of the teams are from the valley.
Yeah.
What can you tell us your thoughts on the move to when you found out that you guys were moving over to that district? And what did you know from any of those teams that you'll be playing?
Well, when we first found out, I looked at it and I was like, golly, I don't know really anything about any of these schools. I had heard of the Sherryland schools and I'd heard of Mission Vets because uh, Coach Gilpin and those guys down at Mission Vets went like 4 rounds deep a couple of years ago when I was at Refugio, and it was a big deal because they got out of the valley and stuff. Um, so I didn't know a ton, but then upon further research and stuff like that, I was like, "Dadgum, these guys are pretty good." So that district is Mission Vets, Mission Veterans Memorial, Sherryland High, Sherryland Pioneer, and Roma. And a lot of people from up here may not be familiar with those guys, and they may say, "Oh, it's the Valley and all that stuff." Well, uh, Mission Vets was 7-5, but they were the district champion last year. They played some really good teams in the non-district. They played San Benito and some of those guys, but they were 7-5, won the district. Sherryland Pioneer was 10-2. They finished second in the district, and Roma was 9-2 and finished third in the district. So all three of those teams were playoff teams. One of them was the district champion, won the district runner-up, and won third. And then Sherryland High was 3-7. But those guys have had some athletes before too. Matter of fact, a few years ago, I wasn't here, but Sherryland High and Alice played in a playoff game at Memorial Stadium here in Alice, and Sherryland had a receiver that ended up going to BYU, and like a quarterback that was real good too. So you never know. I mean, it's going to cycle, but those teams are good. And our district is going to be Alice district champions, Mission Vets district champions, Sherryland Pioneer district runner-up, and Roma district third place. So well, all of us have had our share of success, and we expect that when we go down there or they come up here, that it's going to be a battle. I mean, we know it's going to be. Our kids are a lot like their kids, and they're going to be proud. They're going to be well coached. They're going to play extremely hard, and we wouldn't expect anything less from our kids, and we're not going to expect anything less from those guys either.
It's going to be a good district. It's going to be good because again, and sometimes there's an advantage. They don't know you, don't know them, right? They don't know you, they don't know Alice, and so you're going in there. You can watch a little bit of film, but never really played each other. Didn't play each other last year, so this is going to be really good. Sometimes that's an advantage for a team. Sometimes it's not. So it's going to be very interesting to see Alice in that new district and what they can do with those Valley teams. Coach, I want to talk a little bit about last year's record. Again, like I said, you district champs, 10-2 overall for the Alice Coyotes last year, undefeated, 6-0 in district play, advanced to the third round of the playoffs. Very successful season for you guys. So, what would be the expectation, Coach, coming in this year? You talked about graduating a lot. So, with all that being said, sometimes fans come in and say, "Look, we did this last year. The expectation is really, really high." I can tell you for myself, when I talk because we talk high school football, we talk NFL. When we talk high school football, my expectation of the Alice Coyotes is that they're going to be right back there up again. What's your expectation for this 2024 team?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, our expectation, and I've said it from the year from when I got here last spring, it's going to be a district champion and make a run. Period. Like that's the goal. The expectations aren't going to change. It doesn't matter what district we're in, whether we're in with Calallen and TM, or we're going south with Mission Vets and Sherryland Pioneer. Like the expectation is what it is, and it's for us to number one, win the district, and then number two, take it a game at a time and go as far as we can in the playoffs. And our guys know that's what it is. And me personally, I don't shy away from talking about that with our kids. I mean, I talk to them almost every day about being a back-to-back district champion. When I was at Refugio, we didn't shy away from talking about winning state championships. I mean, every year that was the expectation, and our kids knew it. Our coaching staff knew it. Coach Herring didn't make any bones about it. Like that was the goal, And so what we want to do here is make it like it used to be. I mean, there was a time when Alice was going to the semifinals and playing Converse Judson in the third round and Sugarland Schools and Lake Travis and all those guys, Westlake, and playing them in the third and fourth round, and Texas City and Bay City in the semifinals. And that's what we want to make this place again, is 3-4 rounds deep every year and trying to make runs, So that's the expectation. And our kids know that the back-to-back district championships are the expectation this year. And Getting in the playoffs is not good enough. Just getting in the playoffs is not good enough. We want to win 1, 2, 3, 4 games, however many playoff games we can win. We want to get it done.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's what fans expect. You guys have one of the best support. I mean, that's one of the best. Anybody around here knows the Alice fans love their Coyotes, right? We've been out there, we've been to the stadium. Expectations around here, people that have been around 20 plus years know and always expect Alice to be a powerhouse. They've been like that, like you said, and everyone expects them to be able to compete for a district title and make a deep playoff run. That's every year. That's the expectation that fans have for the Alice Coyotes. And with that being said, Coach, I didn't have this on the questions that I sent you guys, but I did want to talk a little bit about, or have you talk a little bit about the stadium. So we know there's going to be a new stadium. I've seen some things out there, very exciting. Everything passed. What kind of information can you give us? What is the stadium going to look like? When is it going to be ready?
So I know that, and I try not to get too much into it or try not to focus on it a little bit because I don't hear everything. I kind of stay back here in my office and don't really get out. But no, yeah, we're getting the people of Alice. It did the right thing in my opinion, and they the bond passed. So that's a huge win for the 4 elementary schools in this town and our middle school and our high school. It's a big win for band and football and track and soccer and everybody that uses that complex, right? And I love the Sky Dome. I love the grass field. I love everything about it. It's a beautiful stadium. It's historic. I'm so glad that I get to spend 2 seasons coaching in the original Sky Dome. But with that being said, it's time to keep up. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the name of the game nowadays. Is like, not that we can't recruit and pull kids in and stuff like that, like the colleges can, but you also want something that your community and your kids can be proud of, right? And so I'm super fired up. So this year we get to play in the Sky Dome. 2025 season will be all out of the Sky Dome, right? So ground's gonna break after our last game with Roma on like November 8th, I think. The ground's going to break on the new stadium, complete demo of the current Memorial Stadium, and then they're going to start working on building a brand new stadium that, from what I've heard, is supposed to be one of the best in South Texas. So, we're fired up about that, and it's going to be on the same spot that it's in right now, right there across the street from the school and everything. So we're excited. We got a brand new scoreboard and video screen put into the Sky Dome last year, and it's super sharp. And they're going to keep that, and put it into the new stadium. But no, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. We're really fired up, and I'm just excited to see what it's going to look like. I haven't even seen artwork on it, but I know there's artwork out there. I haven't seen it. I don't have any social media, so I haven't seen the artwork, but I know that it's going to be done right.
Yeah, I saw it on social media and it looked
Okay.
really good. Let me tell you, when I saw it, I was like, wow. I was really like, wow. And then again, but the kids, they deserve it, coach. They
Yeah,
deserve
for
it, right?
sure.
I'm glad that they made the right decision because a lot of times, facilities, you got to stay up with the times. I mean, times change. And I think kids deserve the best. They put a lot of effort out there. They compete. They blood, sweat and tears are out there. So anytime you have an opportunity to give them one of the best facilities, and this one sounds like it's going to be one of the best, if not the best around this area, kudos to the people of Alice, everybody that was involved, and the kids and the coaches, and everyone's going to benefit. Not just the athletes, but like you said, the band. A lot of programs out there in Alice are going to benefit from this school and the new schools that are being built. So kudos. I've seen it. Now, I'm going to ask Coach because what I saw on social media looked really, really nice. And hopefully, we'll be out there one day. Coach, before I let you go, I want to thank you for coming down, spending some time with me. We always ask the coaches to come out about 30 minutes. They've had a long day, so we don't want to keep them any longer. But I have asked Coach Cox to see if they can come on every Monday. So hopefully, he or Coach Castellano or the defensive coordinator or any can come on to talk Alice Coyote football this year. So we're hoping that that's going to happen. If it does, I'll post it on the Gridiron 64 social media platforms to let you guys know, and then we'll have a coach come in. So we'll see what Coach Castellano, Coach Cox, what they come up with, but we're definitely hoping to have them on every Monday throughout the football season to talk Alice Coyote football. Coach, once again, thank you for stopping by here, spending some time with me talking Alice Coyote football. And I'll give you the final thought. Anything you want to add before we let you go?
No, man. I want to appreciate you for having us on, and you guys for doing what y'all do, covering football in the Coastal Bend, South Texas. I think this is an unbelievable place to coach. I think there's special people down here coaching and playing football and involved with our young people on the Coastal Bend, and you guys shed light on those people and the kids. So thank you very much. And then I just want to say thank you to the community of Alice. Be ready, come out and support. Last year, my first year, I was blown away by the support of the community, and I know that it's going to continue, and we're fired up and expecting a big season. So,
yeah, definitely come on out, Alice fans, especially at home. Fill that stadium up. It's going to be gone here in a short bit. So definitely continue to make memories. But man, Alice is on the right track with the stadium, with the coaches that they have there, with the tradition, what they did last year, and again. Expecting some big things here, whether, like you said, Coach, it's the expectation never changes. Whether you graduate 30 seniors and you got new guys, it stays the same. The kids know they've been taught since they were playing youth football out there in Alice. It's all about winning district titles and making deep playoff runs in Alice. So I want to, again, I wish you luck, Coach, on the season. And we hope to have you or some of the coaches back on next Monday. Until then, have a great one, Coach. And we'll be talking to Alice Coyotes on the Gridiron 64 Sports Network.
yes, sir. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Coach. Have a good one.
You too.